All right, everyone, buckle up, because today we're diving into a topic that's got Wall Street and Pennsylvania Avenue buzzing. Can the stock market actually give us a sneak peek at who's going to be calling the shots in the White House?
Yeah, we're diving into an article that's really got people talking about this very question, whether there's a link between what's happening in the stock market and who wins the U.S. presidential election.
And, whether you're prepping for that big meeting, just curious about this whole thing, or need a quick download before your next coffee break, we've got you covered.
We're going to break it all down for you. The theory, some examples from history that back it up, and some that don't, and why some folks are saying, hold on a minute, not so fast.
So let's jump right into it. The article kicks off by talking about this theory that a red-hot stock market before an election could mean good news for whoever's already in office.
Right, in this case, that would be Biden and Harris.
Exactly. So tell me, how does this whole thing work? Is it like Wall Street gets to pick the president?
Well, not quite. The theory basically boils down to this idea that the stock market, is like a giant mood ring for the economy. And when it's doing well, when it's going up, it suggests that voters are generally pretty happy with how things are going.
So if my 401k is looking good, I'm less likely to vote for change.
Exactly. It's like, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right.
People tend to favor stability, especially when it comes to money. It's kind of baked into our psychology, this aversion to risk and uncertainty.
Interesting. But hold on, I vaguely remember something about the 2008 election totally throwing this theory out the window. The market was tanking, and yet Obama, the challenger, still won. What happened there?
2008, yeah, that was a curveball for sure. The market was in complete free fall, and yet, like you said, Obama still managed to pull off a win. Shows you that elections are way more complex than just looking at the stock market. Voters consider a ton of different issues when they're casting their ballots.
For sure. Speaking of elections, the article also points to the 2012 and 2016 elections as times when this whole stock market theory seemed to, well, kind of pan out.
Right, so in 2012, Obama was reelected, and the markets were on an upswing then. And then in 2016, the markets weren't exactly setting new records, but the trend did seem to favor the Democrats. But of course, we know that Trump ended up winning that election.
So sometimes it lines up, sometimes it doesn't, which I guess brings us to the big question. If this connection between the stock market and elections is so iffy, why even pay attention to it?
Well, it's definitely not a perfect predictor. There are a ton of other factors constantly pulling the market in different directions. Global events, things like, pandemic like we saw in 2020, that sent shockwaves through every single market no matter who was in charge.
And then you've got stuff like interest rates, trade deals, new technology popping up. All this stuff impacts the market without having a direct link to who wins an election.
And to be honest, not everyone who votes is a Wall Street whiz, right?
Yeah, most of us are just trying to figure out how to pay our bills.
Exactly. And the reality is that for a lot of people, Main Street feels very different from Wall Street. The market might be booming, but if you've lost your job or your wages haven't budged in years, well, that might make you want to vote for someone who promises change, even if the Dow Jones is doing great.
It's true. Money talks, but it's not the only voice in the room.
For sure. There are always these big, important issues at play in every election, social issues, economic anxieties, healthcare, climate change, you name it. And let's be real, sometimes people just go with their gut. They connect with a candidate, they like their message, and that's all it takes.
All right, so where does that leave us? We've got this intriguing theory, but it's definitely not foolproof.
Exactly. The stock market is just one tiny piece of a much larger puzzle. It can tell us something about how the economy's doing and maybe even give us a glimpse into the national mood, but it's certainly not a crystal ball for predicting election results.
So, as we get closer to the next election, it'll be fascinating to see what happens. Will the market be right on the money, or will it throw us another curveball? What do you think? Let us know what you think in the comments below.